As a special Fifth Thursday, I'm going to go through my top 5 Michael Crichton novels. When I was a kid, I read Jurassic Park and it blew my mind that it was possible for a book to be so engaging and so exciting. Naturally, I had to read all of his other books and see what else this guy had written. I read most of his novels besides Disclosure. I read everything else. I'll get to it one day. So here's my list of the cream that rose to the top over the years. Number 5 is Travels. He wrote this in the late 80s, so it's basically an autobiography up to that point in his life. And he has an interesting life. He grew up always wanting to be a writer. He went to Harvard Medical School, and then he was like writing novels on the weekends and over Christmas breaks. And he was getting incremental success until the Andromeda Strain, and suddenly he was this big writing star. Everyone loved him, everyone wanted to meet Dr. Hollywood, and he was disillusioned by the life of fame and success. There was something unsatisfying about it. What he did in the 80s was he traveled all over the place. He did scuba diving and almost got killed. He had an encounter with a rhinoceros and an elephant when he was doing safaris in Africa. He climbed Mount Kilimanjaro. He got covered by bees when he was in Southeast Asia. He went blind after he took some drug of some kind when he was in another part of Southeast Asia. And when he went to Jamaica with his then girlfriend, she let this murderer in their back seat because apparently he knew directions on how to get someplace. So a lot of funny stuff in there. And it's interesting to see his perspective on life. Number 4, The Lost World. I really liked The Lost World as a follow-up to Jurassic Park. I thought Dotson was an interesting villain, which is surprising if you've just seen the Jurassic Park movie because he has a really small part, but like he was a main bad guy in the second book. Basically everything in the book, Lost World, was different than the movie. But it had the same initial premise that you have kids who sneak aboard a trailer that's transported to the Site B island where they raise dinosaurs. And so it's naturally just a great adventure story and one that is on my list. I've got to read it again soon. Number 3 is Jurassic Park. Of course, classic Crichton, taking an interesting premise, making it believable enough with little scientific jargon and enough technical detail to make you feel like it's actually possible. And then the bad guy who is going too far with human technology, and Hammond is much more of a jerk in the book than he is in the movie. I guess when they cast Richard Attenborough, they just had to go with a more well-meaning version of John Hammond that just got a little too ambitious. And so, what 2 books could be better than Jurassic Park? In my opinion, number 2, Timeline. A great adventure story where a group of archaeologists go back to medieval France to save their professor, who also went back in time, because they find a note from him written in the modern day, but it's 700 years old, of him saying, "Help me," which is a great tagline for a book. Anyway, it's a fun adventure story. You have castles and knights and big sieges, and you go back and forth between the present day and the archaeologist trying to save the professor. It really just has it all for me. It's a lot of fun. And number 1 is Sphere. I love the way that Sphere unfolds. That's the real magic for me. You don't find out what it's about at first. You just have a series of interesting premises that just get deeper and deeper and deeper, to where you're left with a group of scientists who are isolated deep in the ocean in this underwater habitat, and they're next to this alien-like spaceship that crashed several hundred years ago, and they're trying to explore it. It has great themes of human psychology, how we react to our deepest fears. In this book, you never know who to trust, because you start trusting one person, then you start trusting another person. Your mind is never settled on what exactly is going on. He crafts it beautifully. And then it ends with a satisfying little twist that ties in all the themes together, and it's wonderful. I've read it many times, and every time I do, I get something else out of it that I realize was clever that I didn't notice before. So that's my top 5 Michael Crichton books.